It's a pleasure to be here to honor one of Will Rogers' finest graduates, a woman I've long admired. I first met Paula through her husband, Jim. Jim and I both played football for Will Rogers, and our future wives were girlfriends at Wilson Junior High. We've remained friends throughout the years, and I mean several decades at this point. It's been amazing to watch Paula, how she's involved from a young wife and mother, first taking an interest in the local politics into one of the most influential and active participants in our political process at both the state and national level. Paula's accomplishments are well documented in publications, which you've probably been given the hide on. The program listing our Hall of Fame inductees, and then the slideshow about her life that you'll enjoy. One of the most impressive facts about Paula is that she was the first female to be elected chairman of the Republican Party at the state 1949 convention. Prior to that time, neither party had ever elected a woman to hold that position. While contributing her time and talents to the Republican Party throughout the years, she has also been widely recognized for her civic work here in Tulsa. However, Billie Jean Clough, who nominated her for the Hall of Fame, said it was not Paula's civic work or her political prowess that impressed her. It was her heart that has led Paula to serve in humanitarian efforts that led Billie Jean to want to nominate Paula for this honor. A perfect example of Paula's caring, courage, and generous spirit was enhanced a few years ago after Hurricane Ivan influenced so much damage in Florida. Long active with the American Red Cross, Paula volunteered to travel to Florida for an extended time to help in any way she could. She helped provide meals, shelter, and drove an ambulance from Pensacola to Orlando with no training whatsoever for driving an ambulance. Paula said all the cars just saw her coming and got out of the way. That was just one of the many times she nearly gave her husband a heart attack when he found out about it. How impressive it is as well to note that Paula served the Department of Energy, the Department of Commerce, and the Tulsa Global Travel Foundation. I think we can all agree that Paula Unruh is truly a great woman for all seasons. What a privilege to know her. Paula?
Paula Combest Unruh graduated from Will on the Hill and attended the University of Tulsa and the University of Arkansas. She soon discovered an active interest in politics, which took her all the way from the Oklahoma Young Republicans to the national political arena in Washington, D.C. Her position as Oklahoma Young Republican National Committeewoman led her to Page Belcher, 1st District Congressman, who offered her a job in his Washington, D.C. office. She ultimately became his campaign manager for many years. Paula's list of community service and honors include American Red Cross Board, Parent-Child Center, Legal Aid Chairman for Tulsa County Bar Association, Junior Association of Tulsa Boys Home, Tulsa Town Hall Board, President of the Tulsa Philharmonic Jr. Association, President of the Women's Association, and Cinderella Ball Chairman. In 1973, Paula was honored by Women in Communications as one of their Women of the Year. And in 1974, the mayor asked her to co-chair the Tulsa Performing Arts Center Bond Issue campaign, which passed after being defeated 3 previous times. In 1975, President Ford appointed Paula to a 9-year term on the National USO Board. In 1981, President Reagan appointed her to serve as the Director of Consumer Affairs for the Department of Energy. President Reagan again appointed her as Principal Deputy Director General of the U.S. and Foreign Commercial Service, the first woman to serve in that capacity. She has led international trade missions to Europe and Japan and was named Executive Vice President of the Tulsa Global Trade Foundation.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Paula Unruh.
What an honor it is to be here, to be the recipient of this award. I just can't tell you how thrilled I am because it's been 66 years since I've been on this stage. And once you graduate, you think you'll never be on the stage again for any reason. But then I realized that I was on the stage during graduation when we came down the aisle. Half came down this aisle and half the other. And I was so pleased to be the one chosen to lead because I thought that was a special thing to be tasked for until I found out they did it by height. Well, I wasn't too tall then, and I'm still not quite that tall now. You've heard about my political career, and that's what it was. So I'm going to tell you a couple of other things. I want Anita Bryant and Lynette, who are going to be on here later, to also know that I cared a lot about music. And it came into my life very early. The New York Metropolitan Opera brought an opera to town called Madame Butterfly. And for those of you who don't know the story, I hope all of you do, but American serviceman, officer in the Navy, took up with this Japanese woman, and they had a baby. And he promised to come back for her and the baby someday. Well, he came back all right, but he brought his American wife. And she was so brokenhearted that she couldn't stand to live to give him her baby. So they had tryouts for this child, and all the children, they tried out. When she was blindfolding the child, and the prima donna stabbed herself and screamed, all the kids were terrified. And they yanked the blindfold off, and they didn't get the part. Well, I was trying out, and they blindfolded me, and I sat there, and then she stabbed herself, and then she screamed, and I just sat there. And I have decided that was preparing me for my political life later on. Getting back to Will Rogers High School, the roundup was the big deal every year for everybody. And my husband and I came back 10 years later, just to hear Anita Bryant sing, this little gal up on the stage with this huge voice. It was wonderful. But the song, I had a partner. We didn't have voices like she did, but we thought we could sing, and she carried the tune and I did a little harmony, and we were on in our junior year, and then we were on again in our senior year, and we had seen a movie two sisters from Boston. And in that show, they sang, "There are two sides to every girl and two to me." And we thought it was a really cute song. It turned out it was kind of vaudeville, but we didn't know anything about vaudeville then. But my mother made both of our costumes, and it was a long blue dress with black lace around the edge, very full, with a great big hat and black plumes. And thought we were pretty hot stuff. And we had the orchestra playing for us. Mr. Comiskey was the band or orchestra director. So we actually got to sing with music by a big assortment of instruments. And when we sang the song and we got to the second half, and we said, "There are two sides to every girl and two to me." Well, we turned around and the back side of our dress was out. Except we had white lace ruffled shorts on. And it was a little shocking the night of dress rehearsal because Miss Trusty, the senior counselor, was sitting up in the back row of the balcony, and she thought we didn't have anything on. And we got called into her office, but the funniest thing that happened was the band director dropped his baton because he had seen us, he'd worked with us in singing the song, and in school clothes you turn around, no big deal. So anyway, that was my contribution to music, certainly here at Will Rogers. I want to tell you just one other thing about being at this school, and it's probably the most important lesson I learned in my life, and it was in history class, and it wasn't about history. I was on the student council, and every Friday, Mr. Kubik, the history teacher, would have 5 minutes of strange, out-of-this-world questions. And he asked me two, which I will never forget because I didn't know the answer to either one. And one was, "Paula, what kind of clouds are those out in the sky today?" And I looked out the window. I hadn't the faintest idea. And then the second question he asked me was, "Who wrote I Pagliacci?" Who's I Pagliacci? I hadn't the faintest idea. And there was always some boy in the room that knew the answer. It taught me a lesson I needed to learn, probably earlier than a junior in high school. He taught me how much I didn't know. And that's a good lesson to learn somewhere along the way, and maybe I quit chasing boys and football players and things like that. I just want to tell you that I am so thrilled to be here. I've used up my 3 minutes. They were so scared they were going to have to get a thing to pull me off.
And we all know she deserved her trophy.